Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Flood. You are listening to the Flood Watch on WLOY Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV, channel 111.1. For those of you who have never tuned into the Flood Watch before, let me explain the gist of the show. So I will be running through two concepts. For one half of the show, I'll be playing an album selected by me that I find significant to music history, or at least to me, to my personal experience. And we're going to be going through each track and talking about what I like about them, what I don't like about them, why I think they're worthy of praise or significant in some way. So for this week, we're going to be doing an oldie. We're going to go back a little bit to the classic rock era. From 1969, this is the Kinks' Arthur, or The Great Decline of the British Empire. Very interesting album from a group that's, not disregarded at all when it comes to the British invasion acts, but probably the least credited out of the big four, which I think is unfair because the Kinks have a lot of great material. Honestly, they're more. There are arguments to be made that they're more consistent and have higher highs than any of the others. It's definitely possible to make that argument, I would say. But I would say that this album is pretty highly praised. But I don't see people talking enough about how consistent it is. Some issues I have with a lot of the early 60s rock acts is consistency. They have great hits, great, amazing star tracks, or tracks that everybody knows. But the album as a whole isn't that consistent. It's definitely filler, it feels like. This album, no filler, and every track feels significant and interesting and adds to the themes of the album. Honestly, I haven't listened to this album in a little while, but when I last did, I rated it a 10 out of 10. So honestly, and I can't say any Beatles album is a 10 out of 10 to me, honestly. So that's really saying something. This album really stands out. So I'm really excited to listen to that. I think there is something to get out of this, especially if you're a classic rock fan, and you haven't heard this album. You're going to get something good out of this, I would say. Let's get started with the album of the week. Oh yeah, so alongside, I didn't explain the second concept. Alongside the album of the week, I'll be playing a playlist of songs I've curated. Usually there's songs that I kind of discovered through the week or revisited during the week that I want to share with you guys. I'm going to be going back and forth between those two concepts. After one song from the album, I'll play a song from the playlist and back and forth. So I hope you guys are excited for today's show. We're going to get started with the first track from Arthur. This track is called Victoria. Hope you guys enjoy.
Life was clean, sex was bad, called obscene.
Once again, that last track was Victoria from the album Arthur, or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire, from the group The Kinks. What a great opening track. That one, if you're a classic rock fan, that song is probably familiar to you. It was a hit, and definitely one I've heard on classic rock radio and stuff like that. And it's a really great track. First of all, it very clearly inspired so much indie rock, especially those trumpets. Just you see that in so many indie rock songs as kind of like to signal triumphant glory. Have those trumpets raising up. And yeah, it's such like a catchy tune too. Aged really well when it comes to the sonic, the sonic parts of the song, meaning it sounds very clean and modern despite being 50 years old now. And also I will say the lyrics, if you didn't get it, they are sarcastic. This is not actually an album praising the British Empire. It's doing the exact opposite of that. Which, I think that even here in America, we have similar cases of songs criticizing America, but being interpreted as a glorification of it, like Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. I always find it really funny to hear people like sing that song as if he's saying like, yeah, the USA, when he's saying the exact opposite. This song is doing something like that, kind of talking about how, oh, Victoria, she loves her everyone in her land so much, even the poor who are free, but they're poor. Because that wasn't a little history lesson. That wasn't how it was. If you were poor, you were not free. You did not have a nice life. It's not necessarily a time you want to look back on and say, yeah, that was the best. And the Kinks are not the group. If you know anything about them, they are not the group to praise imperialism. I would say they were very liberal leaning, I would say, and I think this album is very shows that off a lot. It's a very interesting story that's going to go on in this album. But yeah, I'll say I really enjoyed that first track. Once again, that was Victoria by the Kinks from our album of the week, Arthur, or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. So we're going to go to my playlist next. This next track is a punk track from the group Fugazi. This track is called Waiting Room. So I recently listened, in the past week I listened to the album this song is from, it's called like 10 songs. I'm pretty sure it's a compilation of their early work. And it's a really fantastic compilation or album, whatever you want to call it. Lots of great punk tracks, classic punk tracks. They're from like the late 80s, so they're kind of like post-hardcore, I would say. That's kind of what they identify as when it comes to which genre in punk. But they definitely have some of that classic punk vibe, classic punk energy, with a little bit grittier and rougher guitars and rougher vocals. Really great album. I hope you guys enjoy this track. Once again, this track is called Waiting Room. Once again, that last track was Waiting Room from the band Fugazi. Yeah, I really enjoy that track. I think actually my favorite part is the 30 seconds at the beginning that are just instrumental, and then it cuts to like the main part of the song. Because it's a really awesome punk instrumental, especially like the drums on this one. But I will say also the vocals are powerful. They have a lot of energy and sass too. I would say this is a sassy track. Kind of showed some. It had some foreshadowing for what punk was going to be like in the 90s. So you can kind of tell it's in between the two main eras of punk. But yeah, I really enjoyed that track. We're going to go back to our album of the week, which is The Kinks' Arthur, or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. We're going to go with the second track. This track is called Yes Sir, No Sir. Hope you guys enjoy.
Yes, sir, no, sir. Where do I go, sir? What do I do, sir? What do I say? Yes, sir, no, sir. Where do I go, sir? What do I do, sir? How do I behave? Yes, sir, no, sir. Permission to speak, sir. Permission to breathe, sir. What do I say? How do I behave? What do I say? So you think that you got ambition? Stop your dreaming and your idle wishing. You're outside and there ain't no admission to our play. Pack up your ambition in your own kit bag, and you'll be happy with the back of the bag. Just stop again. Do what I say. Do what I say. Careful. Yes, sir, no, sir. Where do I go, sir? What do I do, sir? What do I say? Yes, sir, no, sir. Permission to speak, sir. Permission to breathe, sir. What do I say? How do I behave? What do I say? Doesn't matter who you are, you're there and there you are. Everything is in its place, authority must be maintained. And then we know exactly where we are. Let them feel that they're important to the cause, but let them know that they are fighting for their home. Just be sure that they're contributing their own. Give the scum a gun and make the bugger fight, and be sure to have deserters shot on sight. If he dies, we'll send a medal to his wife. Yes, sir, no, sir. Please let me die, sir. I think this life is affecting my brain. Yes, sir, no, sir. 3 bags full, sir. What do I do, sir? What do I say? What do I say? How do I behave? What do I say?
Once again, that last track was Yes Sir, No Sir from The Kinks from our album of the week, Arthur, or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Yes, so if it wasn't clear from the first track what the political implications of this album are, I think the second track makes it pretty clear that this is sarcasm, not genuine praise of the British Empire. Yeah, Yeah, and you can also make a lot of comparisons to this album, to musicals, and in a way you could call it a rock opera. Now, I'm for the most part not a fan of musicals. I would say I have not liked most musicals I've seen, because I find the music kind of like just it doesn't do anything interesting for the most part because its interest is the story. It's kind of like it half asses like both. It half asses the parts, the story parts and the music parts, and somehow it makes something that is like just mediocre for the most part. This I really enjoy this song, and I think it is fun, and it does interesting musical things while portraying a story, which I think there is potential for me to enjoy something that is musical related or musical similar to a musical, and rock operas too. I'm usually not a big fan of them, but I do enjoy what's going on this album when it comes to the lyrics and how they're assisted by the music. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that last track. We're gonna go back to my playlist. This next track is called Manish Boy from legendary blues artist Muddy Waters. Yeah, this is a great track. If you're a fan of guitars, this is a song you're really gonna enjoy. So I hope you guys, yeah, once again, this is Muddy Waters with Manish Boy. Hope you guys enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything gonna be all right this morning. Oh, yeah. Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby. I have lots of fun. I'm a man. I spell him H-I-N. That rubber plant man. No B. Oh, child. Why? That mean Manish boy. I'm a man. I'm a full-grown man. I'm a man. I'm a natural-born lover's man. I'm a man. I'm a rolling stone. I'm a man. I'm a hoochie coochie man. Sitting on the outside, just me and my mate. You know I made the moon, honey. Come up 2 hours late. Wasn't that a man? I spelled him H-I-N. That rubber band man. No B. Whoa, child. Why? That mean Manish boy. Man. I'm a full-grown man. Man. I'm a natural-born lover's man. Man. I'm a rolling stone. Man, child. I'm a hoochie coochie man. The line I shoot and will never miss. When I make love to a woman, she can't resist. I think I go down to old Kansas stew. I'm gonna bring back my second cousin. That's little Johnny sitting out that line. I can make love to you, woman, in 5 minutes time. Ain't that a man? I spell him a child. And that river that I'm grown. No be, oh child. Why? That mean manish boy. Man, I'm a full grown man. Man, I'm a natural born lover's man. Man, I'm a rolling stone. I'm a man child. I'm a hoochie coochie man. Well, 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 well. Hey. Hurry. 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 Don't hurt me, child. Don't hurt me, don't hurt me, don't hurt me, child. Well, 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 well. Yeah. That there. That there.
Once again, that last track was Manish Boy by Muddy Waters. Yeah, I really enjoy that track. I listened to a Muddy Waters album a couple of years back now, and I really enjoyed it, but kind of didn't revisit it until this past week, where I listened to another one came up on my my like list of music I eventually want to listen to. And yeah, it was a really great album. Obviously, his vocals are really like strong and rough. And you know what? The guitars are simple on this track, and it's pretty like standard for blues, this sound. But I do really appreciate the production because the guitars sound really clean. It has like that old Southern feel, but also it feels very modern too. And like timeless production quality, I would say. And yeah, it's just like a fun track too. I mean, if you're a fan of rock music, I'll say this as someone who's not like, I'm not preaching because I don't know a lot about blues music at all. But you know what? Like, if you're a fan of rock music, there's definitely something to find by doing a little discovery with old blues music, because it is where it came from. And you can hear it, especially on a track like this, which is actually from a later period. This song's from like the 70s, where, you know, rock was good in mainstream. You know, it had been mainstream for like over 30 years at that point. But you can definitely hear how blues has kind of helped to create the rock sound that we all know nowadays. And we've known for the past 50 years. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that track. Next up, we're going to go back to a song from Arthur, or The Decline and Fall of the British Empire. It's a long title. This next track is called Some Mother's Son. Hope you guys enjoy.
Some other son today, head blown up by some soldier's gun, while all the mothers stand and wait. Some other son ain't coming home today. Some other son ain't got no brain. Two soldiers fighting in a trench. One soldier glances up to see the sun and dreams of games he played when he was young. And then his friend calls out his name. It stopped his dreams, and as he turns his head, second later, he is dead. Some other son lies in a field. Back home they put his picture in the frame, but all dead soldiers look the same. While all the parents stand and wait to meet their children coming home from school. Some other son is lying there. Somewhere, someone is crying. Someone is trying to be so brave, but still the world keeps turning. Though all the children have gone away. Some other son lies in a field, but in his mother's eyes he looks the same as on the day he went away. They put his picture on the wall. They put the flowers in the picture frame. Some mother's memory remains.
Once again, that last track was called Some Mother's Son from the Kings from our album of the week, Arthur, or The Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Said that like 20 times now, it feels like. But yeah, if it wasn't clear from track 2 either that this is a satirical take, then you got to get it by track 3, that they're not praising the British Empire. They are, in fact, critiquing it. And this track specifically talking about war and kind of how it has led a lot of mothers to have no sons and to not have proper burials and stuff like that. Like I guess to give some context, this album came out in 1969. It kind of in America we had the Vietnam War going on, but you know tracks like from the Rolling Stones as well that were commentaries on war as a whole, talking about like how it's a country sacrificing its own people and so on. And this album kind of takes that to an extent. To the whole album is kind of about like making fun of almost the glorification of like nationalism and stuff like that, which I find really interesting. And I also find it really interesting how they take it in such a light tone. To bring it back to musicals, I would say if a musical is not going to try to do anything that creative with its music, I would appreciate if it is at least funny. I did a project on the Book of Mormon a couple years back. I don't know if I really like thought the music was great or anything, but I did find it funny. So that kind of, it took it in a different direction than what I'm listening to most music for, but still really enjoyable. So I hope you guys enjoyed that last track. We're going to go to this next track. It is called Space Truckin' by the group Deep Purple. Now, they're kind of like proto-metal like legends, Deep Purple, which is just always funny to me because everything I knew about them, they didn't sound anything like metal to me. It just sounded like hard rock. But, I've learned that kind of a lot of people see them as like one of the earliest metal groups, despite sounding pretty similar to like Led Zeppelin or something like that, if you ask me. I would say I don't think I appreciate Deep Purple as much as I should. They're an interesting group that I haven't given the time, I don't think. But this next track I heard this week, and I thought it was something that'd be fun to play. This next track, once again, is called Space Truckin'. Hope you guys enjoy. Once again, that last track was Space Truckin' by Deep Purple. Yeah, I really enjoyed that track. The drums in particular are were really interesting and fun to listen to. And yeah, it's kind of a corny track. It kind of fits in with that like crossover between like science fiction and like heavy rock, hard rock, and prog rock stuff that happened a lot in the 70s. It's not something that's aged the best. It's kind of like hokey, kind of a little cringy, but it's fun if you don't take it too seriously. The music is still pretty good. But yeah, I definitely think I gotta go give a Deep Purple album a listen again. It's been so long since I listened to any of their records. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that track though. This next track is called Drivin' from our album of the week. The Kinks' Arthur or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Yeah, so hope you guys enjoy this next track. Once again, it's called Drivin'.
Seems like all the world is fighting. They're even talking of a war. They told the Russians and the Chinese and the Spanish do the fighting. The sun is shining. We're going driving, driving. Drop all your work, leave it behind. Forget all your problems and get in my car and take a drive with me. The sandwiches are packed, the teas and the flowers, plenty of beer, and gooseberries hot. So take a drive with me. Take your mother if you want to. We'll have a picnic on the rocks. Forget your nephews and your cousins and your brothers and your sisters. They'll never miss us, 'cause we'll be driving, driving, driving. Under the trees, under the fields, millions of birds. Why don't you come and take a drive with me? Talk to the cows, laugh at the sheep, go lie in a field, and we'll have a sleep. So take a drive with me. Though the troubled world around us seems an eternity away, and all the debt collectors, rent collectors, all will be behind us, but they'll never find us, 'cause we'll be driving, driving, House Bonnet Church, up to Potter's Bar. We won't be home late, it's not very far. So take a drive with me, take a drive with me. Driving,
Once again, that last track was called Drivin' from the Kinks from our album of the week, Arthur or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Yeah, I like that one a lot too. It's kind of a laid back. It takes a step back from like the political commentary of the first couple tracks, but it's a nice groove. It's a fun track. This song really reminds me of their album that came before this, the Village Green Preservation Society, which I'm also a really big fan of. It reminds me of that album. It's very light, really playing on kind of like psychedelic aesthetics, late 60s psychedelic aesthetics. And I will say, if you're not a fan of that late 60s rock sound, kind of like what is looked late 60s, early 70s rock sound, which is looked at as kind of like the pinnacle of classic rock when it was at its height, I would understand you not enjoying this because it really does come with a lot of those production qualities and just kind of sound wise, it sounds like those albums from that era. What it does with that sound and how it perfects that sound is really what makes it so special, I would say. But I would understand if someone didn't really find it that special because they weren't really that big of a fan of that period. But for me, I really enjoy this album, and so far I'm really loving it. All right, so next up we're going to go to another track from the late 60s, mid 60s. That's pretty famous. This track is called California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas. This is also a classic kind of psychedelic California song. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy.
All the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray, and the sky is gray. I've been for a walk on a winter's day. I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA. California dreaming on such a winter's day.
Stopped into a church. I passed along the way. Well, I got down on my knees and I pretend to pray. You know the preacher like the cold. He knows I'm gonna stay.
California dreaming on such a winter's and the sky is gray. I've been for a walk on a winter's day. If I didn't tell her, I could leave today. California dreaming on such a winter's day. California dreaming on such a winter's day. California dreaming on such a winter's day.
Once again, that last track was California Dreamin'. Did I? Is that what I called it before? I might have said something else. But anyway, California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas. Absolutely classic late 60s track. The harmonies on that are beautiful. And yeah, it is a very like sincere. I mean, they're called the Mamas and the Papas. They're from just like they're a group from the early 60s and early 60s pop kind of like adapting psychedelic rock qualities. Their earliest stages of psychedelic rock. But yeah, I really enjoy that song. Definitely went to inspire. I would say that song went to kind of inspire a lot of the music in the mid 70s. You know, like a lot of that kind of contemporary pop from that time. Was trying to sound like this, like very sunny, very light, and high on the vocals. So I hope you guys enjoyed that track. We're gonna go back to our album of the week, which is the Kinks. Arthur or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. This next track is called Brainwashed. I think you can kind of make some assumptions on what this song is going to be about, but let's give it a try. Let's see what it's about. Yeah, so once again, this is called Brainwash from the Kinks. Hope you guys enjoy.
Look like a real human being, but you don't have a mind of your own. Yeah, you can talk, you can breathe, you can work, you can stitch, you can sew, but you're brainwashed. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Get down on your knees. You've got a job and a house and a wife and your kids and your car. Yeah, you're the vision to think what they want you to think, that they're happy to be where you are. Yes, you are. Get down on your knees. The aristocrat, the bureaucrat, the dirty rats are making you what you are. They're up there and you're down here, you're on the ground and they're up with the stars. Or you'll let me kick you around and push you around till you can't take anymore. So then you're just a step of dirt, but you don't want to get up on the floor.
Once again, that last track was Brainwash from the Kinks from our album of the week, Arthur or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Yeah, I really enjoyed that track too. Actually, they kind of bring back some of those guitar sounds from like their early work, like You Really Got Me. This track really reminds me of You Really Got Me, at least in the second half where the guitars kind of change into that style. Obviously, the lyrics, you know, I would say at this point it's not really a satire. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty blunt about what it's saying. There's no illusion that this is praising the British Empire at this point. But you know what? I respect kind of like the progress that this album's making as far as its political commentary. And I really like the song too. Like I was saying, it feels like a perfection of that late 60s sound. And I'm a big fan of that sound. There's a lot of great music from that era. And I really do think that this kind of puts it in a very modern, like considering this album is pretty old, it's very modern ideas going on here. And definitely has a very a sound that kind of has adapted well throughout the years, I would say. Yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed that track and have been enjoying the album overall. Let's get back to my playlist. Well, you know what? For those of you who have never listened to Floodwatch, I'll do a little intro for the halfway point. My name is Ryan Flood. The concept of the show is I'll be running through an album of the week. You just heard a track from this week's album, which is Decline and Fall of the British Empire from the Kinks. And alongside that, I'll be playing songs that I've heard from throughout the week or throughout the past couple weeks that I found significant and want to share with you guys, and talking about them all. So next up, we've been playing a lot of old school tracks this show, lots of 70s and 60s stuff. But next up, this song is a little bit more modern. This is from Clarence Clarity. Clarence Clarity is his name. This is Those Who Can't Cheat. That's the name of the song. Very interesting track. Hope you guys enjoy.
The universe unfolds.
Out the gate, stack me out the gate. The God's been
steps, with the guns in your crown quite tested. The lions in the skies and fantasize, and the crimes and the rhymes of the human ass. As the weapon inspected.
Out the gate, take me out the gate. I think I could forgive, 'cause I've been, I don't want to. But gonna come me, and the fight is Chevrolet. The spider, the black ups, and the people didn't get down. Gotta get it with it. Oops, I forgot my cigarettes. Oops, I forgot your lipstick.
Once again, that last track was called "Those Who Can't Cheat" from Clarence Clarity. It's funny to go from our album of the week, which is pretty old at this point, and kind of like the tracks I was playing at the beginning of the show, mostly which were from the 60s and 70s, to that track, because it's just kind of crazy to see how different music is nowadays in so many ways. Just kind of like the way production has changed to kind of be such an integral part of what you're listening to. That song is the it's all production, really. It's working with sounds that just weren't really thought of to be music long ago. Well, at the very least, they were considered much more experimental than they are now. It's kind of like a lot of that has been integrated like fully into popular music. And of course, that song it's not like that song's on the radio or anything, but it's just interesting to hear how like noise and electronic influences have kind of become just another instrument in music nowadays compared to its use in earlier decades, which was, it wasn't used the same way. I don't know if that makes any sense. Anyway, let's go to the next track from our album of the week, which is Arthur or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire from the Kinks. This next track is called Australia. Now, from what I remember, this song is pretty crazy. I'm a really big fan. So I hope you guys are ready for that. Once again, this track is called Australia. Hope you guys enjoy.
Opportunities are available in all walks of life in Australia. So if you're young, if you're healthy, why not get a boat and come to Australia? Australia. The chance of a lifetime. You get what you want.
Nobody has to be any better than what they want to be.
No class distinction, no drug addiction.
Nobody's got a chip on their shoulder.
We'll surf like they do in the USA. We'll fly down to Sydney for a holiday on a sunny Christmas day. Australia. In Australia. So if you're young and if you're healthy, why not get a boat and come to Australia? Australia. we do in the USA. We'll fly down to Sydney for a holiday on sunny Christmas Day. Australia, Australia.
Once again, that last track was Australia from the Kinks from our album of the week, Arthur, or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Yeah, that's an absolutely crazy track. Calls back to the opener Victoria as far as its like lyrical themes and just content overall. It's kind of this is more like the satire side of it, where it is like praising a part of the British Empire. Talking about Australia, as kind of like this vacation spot to go, kind of like how America was seen in a lot of ways, and kind of like I mean, there's innate sarcasm in that, being that Australia was at first a penal colony, so it wasn't like they were necessarily advertising that to just the rich people of England, like, oh yeah, go to Australia with all the crazy scorpions and crap. Which is just funny to think about. But also, I really enjoy like the awesome 2 minutes of instrumental on this track. It's really epic sounding, and they really like buy into the prog bit, I would say, where they kind of like take some of that sound and kind of just roll with it, do something different that they're not really known for doing. They weren't really known as a band that showed a lot of virtuosity. They made pop songs. Pretty short pop songs too. I don't really think they have many other long songs, but this one almost reaches 7 minutes, and at least for me, I'm entertained the all way through. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that too. Understand if you didn't; it was a bit long, and I find I agree with people sometimes when they're saying, like, when the lyrics start to, there's no more lyrics, I kind of like lose my train of thought. Like, my attention is not there for the rest of the track, which makes sense. I understand that. But yeah, for me, I really enjoyed that track. Really like cool stuff going on there. All right, so we're going to go to our next song from the playlist. This next track is called Christine from the artist Lucy Dacus, I believe. That's how you pronounce her name. But yeah, her album that came out this year, I listened to this week, and it was fantastic. Really great. If you're a fan of like the indie folk sound, and you're looking for someone with some really interesting and like innovative lyrics as well, some great storytelling, I would definitely recommend this album. If you're a fan of like the modern kind of indie sound, the indie folk sound, like Phoebe Bridgers and the like, and kind of all the sounds that kind of derive from like Bon Iver, you will enjoy her music, because it definitely stands out on its own. Musically and lyrically. This next track, though, is one of my favorites yet. So hopefully you'll get a gauge on whether or not you want to go listen to the rest of her album. Once again, this track is called Christine. Hope you guys enjoy.
You're falling asleep on my shoulder in the back of your boyfriend. Other nights you admit he's not what you had in mind. All in all, nobody's perfect. There may be better, but you don't feel worth it. That's where we disagree.
Damn, yeah. That last track was Christine from Lucy Dacus. Really powerful song, really powerful lyrics. Definitely a standout from that album. I would definitely recommend it. If you liked what you heard right there, you're definitely going to like the rest. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite albums of the year so far, for sure. All right, so we're going to get back to our album of the week. which is Arthur, the Decline and Fall of the British Empire from the Kinks. And this next track is called Shangri-La. That's what it's called. Another interesting track, kind of a similar vein as Australia from what I remember. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this next track. Once again, it's called Shangri-La.
Now that you've found your paradise, this is your kingdom to command. You can go outside and polish your car, or sit by the fire in your Shangri-La. Here's your reward for working so hard. Gone are the lavatories in the backyard. Gone are the days when you dreamed of that car. You just want to sit in your Shangri-La. Put on your slippers and sit by. Well, Mr. Churchill.
All right, sorry about that, guys. Think I'm having a technical difficulty right here. Let me see if I can get the track. All right, it looks like when I ripped the music to the CD, for some reason it did not include the rest of that track, which is kind of a disappointing. It's a pretty good song. Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. But if you want, you can look it up on Spotify, Shangri-La. If you're enjoying what you're hearing here, I would definitely recommend it. Yeah, that stinks. All right, but we're gonna go to another track from my playlist then. This next track is a track from an album I listened to this week from Porter Robinson, who is an EDM musician for the most part, but his last album that came out this year was much more on like the synth pop side. It kind of leaned into its pop elements. And I found it really great, like really amazing production, and the songs themselves were also really beautiful and also really catchy. This is one of my favorites, this next track. It's called Mother. Hope you guys enjoy.
I was born in a silent embrace.
start. I left my keys somewhere in the mess. It comes and goes in plateaus. 1 month later, I'm a fucking pro. My parents would be proud. Or fall asleep on the floor. Forget what happened in the morning. There are notes in your handwriting, but you can't make it out. We are not a proud race. It's not a race at all. We're just trying. I'm only trying to get home. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers. This is not a good thing. I don't mean to rationalize or try and explain it away. It's not okay. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers. It's too late to articulate it. That empty feeling. You share the same fate as the people you hate. You built yourself up against others' feelings, and it left you feeling empty as a car coasting downhill. I had become such a negative person. It was all just an act. It was all so easily stripped away. But if we learn how to live like this, maybe we can learn how to start again. Like a child who's never done wrong, who hasn't taken that first step. We are not a proud race. It's not a race at all. We're just trying. I'm only trying to get home. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers. Put it out of your mind. Perish the thought. There's no comfort in responsibility. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Killer whales, killer whales. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Killer whales, killer whales. Use that voice in your head, giving you shit again. But you know he loves you, and he doesn't mean to cause you pain. Please listen to him. It's not too late. Turn off the engine, get out of the car and start to walk. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers, drunk drivers, drunk drivers. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Killer whales, killer whales. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Killer whales, killer whales.
Yeah, that last track was called "Drunk Drivers slash Killer Whales" from Car Seat Headrest. Man, I listened to the album. This song is from Teens of Denial from 2015 or 2016, I believe. It is a great album. These guys are a really innovative indie rock group, considering, many by the mid 2010s, I think most people were like, where do we go next? Where does indie rock go next? Because it kind of had lost its direction. And then these guys kind of came around and kind of said, well, we got something interesting to say, and something interesting to play. And I think their material is really worthwhile if you're a fan of indie rock, because they really kind of showed that there was more to say. There was more to come from this side of rock music, or from rock music in general, honestly, because by the mid 2010s, it definitely was in dire straits as far as what it was appealing to in kind of like modern culture. It kind of was under the radar. It kind of had fallen off. But I really do think these guys brought something really interesting at the time. And, well, I'm still excited to see what they do, and their next great record, wherever it's going to be. I'm excited to hear it, because I'm sure they'll make another great one. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that last track. We're going to go back to our album of the week, and we're going to play this next track. It's called Mr. Churchill Says. Hope you guys enjoy.
Well, Mr. Churchill said, Mr. Churchill said, we gotta fight the bloody battle to the very end. Mr. Beaverbrook said, we gotta save our tin, and all the garden gates and empty cans are gonna make us we shall defend our island on the land and on the sea. We shall fight them on the beaches, on the hills and in the fields. We shall fight them in the streets. Never in the field of human conflict, so much old to so few. They have made our British Empire a better place for me and you. And this was our finest hour. Well, Miss Montgomery says, and Miss Mountbatten says, we gotta fight the bloody battle to the very end. As David Edwards said, we'll meet again someday, with all the sacrifices we must make before then.
That last track was Mr. Churchill Says from our album of the week. The Kinks' well, they are the Kinks, but it is their Arthur or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one too. Really catchy, and the groove is great. So I just realized we're moving a little behind. I'm gonna play another song actually from Arthur, so that we can actually finish the album in the next 25 minutes. Because we still got a couple more tracks. All right, so this next track is called "She's Bought a Hat Like Princess Marina." Hope you guys enjoy.
She's bought a hat like Princess Marina's to wear at all her social affairs. She wears it when she's cleaning the windows. She wears it when she's scrubbing the stairs. But you will never see her at Ascot. She can't afford the time or the fare. But she's bought a hat like Princess Marina's, so she don't care. He's bought a hat like Anthony Eden, because it makes him feel like a lord. But he can't afford a Rolls or a Bentley. He has to buy a second-hand Ford. He tries to feed his wife and his family, and buy them clothes and shoes they can wear. But he's bought a hat like Anthony Eden, so he don't care. But he can't spare me a dime. My wife is getting hungry and the kids are crying. His poverty is hurting my pride. But he can't spare me, but he can't spare me a dime. But he can't spare me a dime. But he can't spare me, but he can't spare me, but he can't spare me a dime. She holds her hat like Princess Marina, and her neighbors think it treats her a treat. But she hasn't any food in the larder, knows anybody else in the street. But to look at her, you think she was wealthy, 'cause she smiles just like a real millionaire. But she's bought a hat like Princess Marina, so she does care. So she does care. She does care. She does
Once again, that last track was "She's Bought a Hat Like Princess Marina" from the Kinks. This is a very silly track. Obviously, I mean, it has a kazoo. I don't think any track with a kazoo can be serious, honestly. But I don't think that takes away from it at all. I think satire a lot of the times really benefits from a sense of humor, because to make fun of something, you have to just like you have to just like emphasize all of the ridiculous qualities of it that no one would point out before, to make the whole thing just seem ridiculous. I really enjoy that about satire, because it makes it fun and enjoyable, but also there's commentary. I would say this album kind of fits that role. It's weird and quirky, but also a great listen. And I understand, though, if maybe it's a bit too quirky and weird and just kind of you're not a fan. I could understand why you wouldn't like that track in particular if you felt that way. Yeah, so we're gonna go back to my playlist. I think we'll have enough time for these next 3 tracks from our album of the week. But this next track is called 327 from West Side Gun. This is going to be a dramatic change in sound, because I think this is the only hip hop track we'll have for this week. But it's a really great track. It's from last year. For those, I could say so many things about West Side Gun, but just so you know, if you're not aware, he's kind of one of these innovators of bringing back 2000s kind of boom bap sound to hip hop. And he's kind of blown up. Him and his crew, Griselda, have kind of blown up. With him as kind of like the figurehead, despite him being the weirdest member of the three. Well, there's more than three at this point, but he's definitely got the weirdest voice. Now, this song, if you're not a fan of that, I understand. His voice is hard to get accustomed to, but there is something valuable in getting accustomed to his weird voice, I would say. And yeah, this track has some really great features. I think it's just one of the best tracks from the album Pray for Paris that came out in 2020. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Once again, it's called 327.
I swear Paris what we pray for. I'm released off white to the ankles. I'm in them places that you can't go. Don see me go in the same bro. I swear Paris what we pray for. I need Casablanca by the caseload. Oranges in the mangoes. I'm a model now, baby, got the face for it.
Hey yo, I rock you no lashes. On the runway in my coat fashion. Anybody move from toe tagging. My 327s was blessings, leather Vuitton vests. Keep a loaded firearm and Mercedes arm vests. Low stressing. 22 with grades, 25 left in the cage. I told him hold your head, it's worse in the grave. I threw coke in the pot, watched it bloom, residue and consumed. It started waving, had a light and dope spoon. And try to kill you for your recipe. My shooting nasal drip flowing heavenly, ducking my third felony. Take your shine, 2 for 5, me your minds running from suit and ties. You say you the flyest, then who am I? Balenciaga with the hell. Lemonade, a popular drink still. With long jean jacket, rockin' so be real. Overpass, I'm too exquisite. On the dance floor, trying to finger on every visit. Some to never risk it. Hopping in BMs and proud of moccasin shit. They never had a pot to body Porsche on Cavalli dishes. On my hollin' in the drop Porsche wildin'. My loafers crocodile styling. I be having greater visions. You can tell by the way I whip it. You getting money, then the haters with it. It ain't dry, told them wait a minute. Praise Pope for the way I did it.
I swear Paris what we pray for. I'm released off white to the ankles. I'm in them places that you can't go. Don see me go in the same bro. I swear Paris what we pray for. I need Casablanca by the caseload. Silks with the oranges and the mangoes. I'm a model now, baby, got the face for it. I swear Paris what we pray for.
I'm from an era of hard knocks and quiet storms. Rap songs about crack rocks and firearms. In the stash spot on some money mission. Adjust the AC, consider biscuit. It's your life, you can choose to risk it if you wanna. Don't want smoke, they want some marijuana. I used to get kicked out of class just for my aroma. I went to school high, forgot to pick up my diploma. It's way back when we used to cipher Arizonas. Now I'm in that Maybach, I'm with Puff and Hover. We been in corners in the 6 deuce. Talk about last night's $10,000 bottles of Patron, sipping like it's juice, homie. How could I lose? That these fools will do to be in my shoes. I'm done playing by rules. Learn from OGs, I'm retiring the jewels. Everything's plain Jane, different day, the same thing. I mean, it's usual. Everything that's new to you will be the type of I'm used to. I could give a about the hated I'm used to. If it's me, then know the feeling is mutual.
I swear pray for. I'm released off white to the ankles. I'm in the places that you can't go. Don see me go in the same bro. I swear Paris what we pray for. I need Casablanca by the caseload. Silks with the oranges and the mangoes. I'm a model now, baby, got the face for it. I swear Paris what we pray for.
Feeling good. Everybody say when I walk in, ring the bells. Roses at my feet, kneel, yell, glitter on my neck, match the glitter on my fingernails. Always got something to say, well, them same guys was mighty till they got the ducking. We got the pucks and we chucking. They playing chicken, we clucking. I'm Colonel Sanders to you mother trash and we dumping. I've been rapping it. He's 6'5", I'm a munchkin, and we speed to the disco. This car came with a driver, I'm in the back playing frontin'. I ain't crying, the wind is flying, stop making assumptions. I ain't lying or nothing. Yes, I'm so happy. I turn nothing into something, skin glowing, my head nappy. My health good, my mama good, my too when they only wanna have good times like Josh Safdie. We eat good, long way from Mac's Burgers, long way from that Metro bus taxi service, long way local gangs try to taxidermy. Run until our mother backs was burning. But anyway, the short and the socks hot, and the emerald shine and them GQs and them pop pies. And I spy with my private eye that you tried. You cannot pull this look off.
I swear Paris what we pray for. I'm released off white to the ankles. I'm in the places that you can't go. Don C, Nego in the same row. I swear Paris what we pray for. I need Casablanca by the caseload. Silks with the oranges and the mangoes. I'm a model now, baby, got the face for it. I swear Paris what we pray for.
Once again, that last track was called 327 from West Side Gun with features from Joey Badass and Tyler, the Creator. And the instrumental on that one is really great. I'll just quickly talk about this one because I got to get through 3 more songs from the Kinks before the show's over. But yeah, I really enjoyed that track. The instrumental is great. It could loop on forever, and I would just be happy listening to it. Definitely got that lo-fi beats to study to vibe, if any of you listen to those. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or anything. I really like that sound. The moody rain music, I would say. And I think all 3 deserve give really great performances. I'm a big fan of the Griselda sound and kind of what they've been doing lately. And they've had a really great 2021, the crew. So I would definitely recommend checking out their music if you liked that song. So yeah, let's get back to our album of the week. This next track is called Young and Innocent Days. Hope you guys enjoy.
Sugar-coated outside. It was great, so great. Young and innocent days. I wish my eyes could only see everything
Once again, that last track was Young and Innocent Days. I'm going to try to move a little fast so we can get through these last two tracks, but I wanted to say that I really enjoyed the change of pace for this song. It's definitely really melancholy and melancholic, I should say. And it's a bit more wholesome than what I think the Kinks usually go for. A bit more emotional. There is a pretty clear line between like the Kinks and Big Star, another group from the 70s that I like. Like you can definitely see how the Kinks were a huge influence on Big Star. Their sound was what influenced that kind of early power pop sound, I would say, out of the British New Wave, not the British New Wave, out of the British invasion acts. This track really reminds me of Big Star because it's something they do very often, talking about kind of the past, admiration for youth, and young love and stuff like that. So this track, I really appreciate its change of pace in the album, and that it kind of takes a more personal feel amidst all of the satire and political commentary going on in this album. I really like that track. So next up, this track is sorry about that. The next track is called Nothing to Say. Hope you guys enjoy.
Remember walking with you by my side. You were my papa, I was your pride. And now I got children and I'm going gray. No time for talking, I got nothing to say. Those Sunday dinners that we had at home. Now I got a house and I got friends of my own. We can't do tomorrow what we did yesterday. It's best to be going our separate ways, okay? How is your rheumatism? Nothing to say. How are you children? Nothing to say. How's Auntie Mabel? Nothing to say. So far, Papa, you got nothing to say, okay?
Those happy days we spent together, we thought our world would never change. Ah, the days go by, and things will never be the same.
You keep pretending that everything's fine. So you make small talk to help pass the time. But all the words that you spit from your face add up to nothing. You got nothing to say. How are those noisy neighbors next door? I'll have to go soon 'cause I'm getting bored. I gotta be home early to see a good play. So far, Papa, I got nothing to say. How's your life insurance? Nothing to say. How's your trade union? Nothing to say. How's your independence? Nothing to say. So far, Papa, I got nothing to say.
Once again, that last track was called Nothing to Say. I'm going to play the final track of the show right after this, but I just wanted to quickly say I really enjoyed that track too. It's taking it another step as far as the political commentary. I mean, we have most of this song criticizing imperialism from the British Empire. This track looks more at capitalism, British Empire capitalism, and just kind of culture as a whole at the time. And I got to say, it's just kind of crazy. Obviously, they weren't originating criticizing capitalism or anything like that, but I do think it took some guts to kind of to make a song that so blatantly is critical of it. We of course everyone always thinks of Imagine, but honestly, compared to this, Imagine feels very kind of like flimsy. I feel like this song kind of owns the fact that it's poppy and light, on top of being just like extremely depressing lyrically, just saying there's nothing you can do. I appreciate tracks that do that. I can't remember who it was by, but I listened to a song like that a couple weeks ago. Just extremely happy and energetic, but extremely like dark and depressing lyrics about how nothing matters. Something about that is very interesting to me. So I really like that one too. We're gonna go with the last track from Arthur or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. And it's the title track. This track is called Arthur. Hope you enjoy.
Arthur was born just a plain simple man in a plain simple working class position. The road was hard and its ways were sad. He was young and he had so much ambition. All the way he was overtaken by people who made decisions. Tried and he tried for a better life and a way to improve his own condition. If only life were easy, it would be such fun. Things would be more equal and be plenty for everyone. Arthur, the world's gonna have to buy, don't you know it? Don't you know it? You can cry all night, but it won't make it right, don't you know it? Don't you know it? Arthur, we know and we sympathize, don't you know it? Don't you know it? Arthur, we like you and want to help you. Somebody loves you, don't you know it? How's your wife and you shed the light of your love, lost and hallelujah? Don't you hope the glory has passed you by? Can't you see what the world is doing to ya? And now we see your children sailing off in the setting sun to a new horizon where there's plenty for everyone. Arthur could be that the world was wrong, don't you know it? Don't you know it? Arthur could be you were right all along, don't you know it? I hope you know it. Now we know and we can sympathize. We'd like to know you, understand you. Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Somebody loves you, don't you know it? Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Out there the world's gonna pass you by, don't you know it? Don't you know it? You can cry all night, but it won't make it right, don't you know it? Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Arthur, we read you and understand you. Arthur, we like you and want to help you. Ooh, we love you, want to help you. And ooh, we love you
once again, that final track was called Arthur. I don't know if that kind of like quick cut was intentional or not, or if there was just something about the way I ripped the CD. But if it was, that was pretty cool, honestly, because that ending feels really creepy. It's just, again, another really happy like ending. It's kind of like people trying to come to Arthur, telling him, "Oh no, everything's gonna be fine," and kind of, you know, that indoctrination they were talking about earlier, kind of going on. Yeah, perfect ending if you ask me. I think this album really held up. Honestly, I would probably still give it a 10 out of 10. Like, I really liked it on this listen too. It's probably their best project. I love Village Green Preservation Society, but I do think it has some weak tracks. Here, I mean, I think everything does something interesting, and sounds great. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it at least a little bit. I had fun playing it, and I had fun playing the other tracks too. But yeah, it was a good show. I appreciate you all for listening. Once again, my name is Ryan Flood, and you've been listening to The Flood Watch on WLOY Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. I will be back next Friday, 2 to 4. Hope you stop by. And yeah, hope you guys all have a great weekend.